just kind of introduce ourselves, but let me pray first, okay? Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for Premier, God. We just thank you that Premier is the reason that we all get to gather together, Lord. It's just the excuse for fellowship, God, and we're just so grateful for that. I just pray, Lord, that you will just bless this time that we have together, that you will allow us to build one another up and to encourage one another, and to just hold one another accountable in our walks with you, and that this would be about you above all else, Lord. We thank you so much for bringing us all together, and we pray that we just have a great training. In your name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, all right, well, I'm Danielle, and this is my house, so I'm glad that you guys are here tonight. I have been doing Premier for 3 years, so we're in our 4th year now, and that's really it about me. You've met my husband. He'll be back in a little bit. He's going to do some training for y'all tonight. That's Tucker. Yes, and Corey and Finley are my girls that just went to bed, and I'm so glad that you guys are here. And we'll go start with Michelle.
Just say it again.
Yeah, just whatever.
Okay. I'm Michelle. Started doing Premier in January. And this is my husband, Buster.
Y'all are welcome to bring your husbands anytime. Buster's here because Dave's going to actually do some training tonight, so we told him to come.
I'm Joanna, and I started with Premier in May.
I'm Elena. I'm with Miss Natalie. I'm Shamir, and I'm with Miss Natalie.
And they were both here at Fun to Share. Anybody that was here at Fun to Share, they were here. And now they're back. Yay!
Yeah, they brought their mom.
I'm Carmen. I'm with Natalie. I just started a few months ago. Something like that. I don't remember what.
You done?
Yeah.
That's all? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Natalie, and I have been, this is my 6th month with Premier.
Hey.
Hello, my name is Gigi, and I'm here with Natalie, and I work at a museum. It's called Arlington. I don't know if any of y'all have heard of it. Yeah. Okay, it's an antebellum home.
Fun.
And we have,
That's really
it's a museum, and we have events too, like weddings and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Very cool. I do.
Yes.
Do I count the month that I started my training show month?
Yes.
That's easier training.
Sure.
Okay. I'm Beth, and I started in August.
Yay.
Nailed it.
It's good.
Thanks.
I don't know if we were going down or up. I'm Katie, and I just started, the end of August, like 3 weeks ago. So.
Yay. Yay. Welcome, Katie.
Yes.
I'm Linda, and I just started my 13th year.
I know. She's
Wow.
our veteran.
Yeah.
Our veteran joy lady.
Yes.
I'm Katie, and I started in February.
I'm Morgan, and I started last Tuesday.
Well, she officially starts too next Tuesday at
Yes,
the training
next
show.
Tuesday, my training show.
Don't worry, he's gone. He's not coming to get you.
I was like, what was that? I'm so excited to be out of the garage.
Just trying to keep him from just barking the whole entire time. All right, Miss Cecily.
I'm Cecily, and I will be in a year next month.
I know, it's so crazy. So exciting though. So fun. Okay, well good. Well, I'm so glad all of you are here. Okay, we are going to do some recognition. Who got a certificate in the mail? Anybody? Uh-huh.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So Dave, instead of me handing him out here, Dave has decided that we should just do recognition for the whole 10-10-10, so we did, and then we just mailed them out to everybody, all right? And so, so if you got one in the mail, you were in the top 5, so way to go. And we are gonna, basically I'm just gonna have everybody stand up, and we're gonna just recognize everybody here, because I think everybody should be recognized for their hard work, don't you think?
Yes.
Yes. So, we're gonna, did anybody bring their CV report like I asked?
Yes.
Oh, good homeworkers over there. Let me see.
Yeah, mine doesn't look that
I
way.
didn't get that request, and I don't know that I would know how to bring it.
Well, you don't have one yet anyway. Well, you do have one, actually. You do have one. It was in my, did you get my email? I added you to my email group, but you may not have known it was me. You might have been like, oh, who this girl is. I'll
Oh,
make
hidden
sure
house.
you're in it and make sure that you
That
guys.
looks way cooler.
It probably just looks.
Joshua,
You
tell me
might
what
have
you think.
pressed
Maybe.
a different format or something.
Well, I did it out of hood and
Hood and house. Yeah, this is
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a different. It's just starting your progress, but this will still pull up everything. See, like if I pulled this up, it wouldn't give me everything. But
Okay.
because you're new, it will.
Okay.
So
So
you're
somebody's under me yet.
yes, exactly. Okay. All right. So what we're gonna do? I want you to stand up if you did one show in the August accounting period. Stand up.
That includes your training show?
Yes, includes your training show. But didn't you did another one too, didn't you?
Oh yeah, it was in August too.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Get your clappers because you're all gonna clap for each other. So you did one show in the August accounting period. Woo! Go girl. Keep standing if you did two shows in the August accounting period. Well, you did two. Oh, it was in September?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right. All right. Keep standing if you did 3 shows in the August accounting period. Woo! Keep standing if you did 4 shows in the August accounting period. If you did 4 shows in the accounting period, you are keeping your business consistent. So way to go, consistency. Yeah. All right. Keep standing if you did 5 shows in the August accounting period. Woo! Keep standing if you did 6. I want you to stand up if you had a show that was $300 or more. Stand up.
See, this is where I needed that.
I don't know, but I'm
6 shows, yeah.
You're not sure, huh?
Out of 6 shows, I surely hope so, Michelle. Okay, clap for yourself. Alright, keep standing if you had a show that was 400 or more. Yes, keep stomping. Alright, if you had a show that was 500 or more. If you had a show that was 600 or more. Linda, if you had a show that was 700 or more. Wow, girls, 800 or more. Woo! 900 or more. 1,000 or more. Woo! Okay, what did you have?
Oh, it was 1,000 something, and I
Okay.
don't remember
Okay.
exactly over that. So
Yes, that's awesome. Bev, what was yours though?
1334.
hers.
Yes!
Let me just add, that was her training show.
Way to go, girl.
Yes, I know. And I wanted to recognize her for that. Is that
please.
okay?
Yes.
Okay. Because Beth is one of my sweet premier daughters, and so I wanted to recognize you for having the highest single jewelry show.
Woo!
Okay?
Way to go, girl.
I may as well do this one too, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, and for having the most home shows, and this is just in my personal downline. She had 5, and so congratulations!
So proud of you guys.
You did good.
So proud of you. That's awesome. Such a good job. Okay, stand up if you sponsored in the August accounting period. How many people did you sponsor in the August accounting period? 3. You should have got a certificate in the mail for that. I'll ask Dave. I'll make a note on it. Did you do a certificate for sponsoring? Oh, you better make one for Michelle. She's not with me.
A gold star.
That's right, gold star. Okay. All right. Well, I am so proud of you guys. Y'all are working hard, and I hope that September is going just as well as August. August was an amazing month. Just when I reviewed the CV report of everybody. So y'all have done awesome. Okay. Calendar catch up. Y'all grab your calendars. Okay. So I want to make sure, because sometimes I feel like I just assume that everybody knows that we have training every single month and everything that happens every month. And then I hear from people that are like, oh, I didn't know that we had training tonight. And so I want to make sure you know that we have training every month. So I want you to put on your calendar, I've written it on your agenda. So the first Monday is always New Jeweler Training. So I would like for you right now to go ahead and write on your calendar for September, for October, for November, and December. If you have a calendar that goes that far. Do you want me to take him?
No, it's okay.
Thank you. Your care. Now, new jeweler training is a one-time training. Of course, you don't have to keep coming back unless you keep sponsoring, and then you should come
with your sponsoring jeweler to new jeweler training, okay? But it's good just to have it on there just in case. Because I'd hate for you to sponsor somebody, but then have already booked a show on that night and then not be able to come with that person. So I would just keep it open just in case, because I know you're all gonna sponsor and bring people into the family, okay? And that's at 7 p.m. Second Monday of the month we have off. For me personally, because 3 Mondays a month are premiere related, I just always try to book a show on that second Monday so that my family knows that all Mondays of every month are just always premiere. And so it just stays that way consistently for me. Oh, the baby.
He's like, yeah, no.
Okay, then the third Monday of the month is this Monday. The third Monday is training. So for October, November, December, January, y'all can always put it down that the third Monday of the month is always going to be training. I am actually going to go ahead, and I wrote it on the agenda, and we're going to bump training to start at 7 because we typically always start at 7 anyways. So I would still encourage you to get here early so that we can begin at 7, because even though training starts at 6:30, we're all rolling in around that time or a little bit after, which is totally fine. So, but just so you know, we're just going to, if you want to come a little bit early, we'll have just fellowship, eat at your snacks time, and then we can promptly begin training at 7. Okay, does that sound good? So that will give you a little bit, that'll give me a little bit of extra time to help get my kids in a bath and off to bed. And that will give you guys a little bit more time to help with your kids if you've got kids, or to get here if you're coming from work. And I think that'll just make things a little bit easier. Is that okay with everybody? Yes. Yes? Okay, so change it in your calendar so you've got that. Okay, then Fun to Share is always on the fourth Monday of the month, and everyone should know what that is, but Fun to Share is just a big excuse for us to have more fellowship with one another, to eat dinner with one another, and to invite guests who are maybe just interested in hearing a little bit more about Premiere and want to come and be a part of that. Like these two lovely ladies were here last month at Fun to Share. Did y'all have fun at Fun to Share?
That's fun.
See, it was fun. That's what I want to hear. It was fun. So much fun they brought their mama back to training. And in the month of October, so we're in September, so we'll be having Fun to Share, next week. So make sure you're inviting people to that. But in the month of October, Fun to Share is at Michelle's house. Okay? Is that okay, Buster?
That's great.
Okay. We will be in Gainesville for Jewel School, and we'll be staying for an entire week because Dave's sister is getting married, and so, so Michelle's going to be hosting Fun to Share. So y'all better fill her house up with lots and lots of people. Okay. Next things on your calendar. Designer Retreat is September 26th through 28th. That's coming up in just next weekend, actually. Or next weekend? Yeah. Michelle gets to now come on Designer Retreat. I'm going to recognize her in just a few minutes. I'm so excited about that. And but it's not, I know that y'all are thinking oh my gosh, I've got 2 people or however many people. But Michelle sponsored 3 people in 2 weeks, it was almost like. So you just never know. You got, some time. And that's in Savannah. And then October 26th is a Saturday. That is Jewel School, and it is in Gainesville, Florida. It's a 6-hour drive from here, so I totally understand if y'all are I'm not going to that because that's 6 hours away. Dave and I will definitely be going down for that. It's going to be awesome. There are, Dennis and Vicki Saller are coming from Orlando. There are executive directors in Premiere all the way up. They're going to be speaking, and I'm just so excited to hear from them because Dennis is a dentist, and they never needed Premiere financially. She was going to be a stay-at-home mom, and Dennis was a dentist, and she really just started doing Premiere for fun, really with no intentions of ever becoming full-time in Premiere or doing it forever, and it just blessed them and blessed them and blessed them, and their why kept changing and changing and changing. And now Dennis does not he's not a dentist anymore. He has opened his own little burger joint called Burger 21. It's much like Flip Burger up here. And so now they get to do Premiere and have their own burger joint. And so I just think that that's so incredible. And you're going to get to hear their testimony, and they're going to have so much great things to share. So Dennis is doing a men's only breakout session. So if your husbands do want to come with you, he'll be doing a men's only session. And then there are 2 other sessions that you guys can choose. Actually, there are 3 other sessions that y'all can choose from. There's going to be a leadership session that Vicki is leading, a booking, home show boot camp, which I get to run, so y'all hear from me all the time, so, you know. And then a new jeweler session that Lacey is going to be running. And then there'll be a general session with everybody all together with Dennis and Vicki. So it's really going to be great. It's going to be jam-packed full of information. It's from 10 to 2 on a Saturday. So you probably would want to drive down the night before. We're staying at Jonathan and Lacey's house, and honestly, if y'all wanted to grab a carpool, we could probably all just sleep on the floor at Jonathan and Lacey's house the night before. And that way we wouldn't have to get a hotel or anything. And then you could probably drive home Saturday. Okay, so just something to consider. I really just want you to know about it. It's going to be great, and I would love for you to be there and get to meet some of the Gainesville girls because they hear all about you. Okay, and then Rally. Go ahead and mark your calendars right now for Rally. It is January the 11th. Hold on. And it's here in Birmingham. Hold on, I'm going to show you this next. Okay, so I expect everybody to be there, I'm just going to say. Okay? It's a one-day event. No, but you have something going on already?
I'm doing the Disney race.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's an okay
So
excuse.
yeah, I'm like,
I'll
I won't
let
be
you
here for that, sorry.
I'll let you pass, because you're running in a marathon. Katie actually signed up in Premier her Y so that she can have money to register for races and race all year long. Isn't that a cool Y?
I did it today.
That's awesome. But anyways, it's going to be great, and it's just a one-day event. It's normally really cheap. It's like $30-something to go, and they feed you lunch. And so I really, really, really want to encourage you to be there. Make sure you put it on your calendar and plan for it. Okay.
What time is it?
It's typically, last year I think it was 9 to 4, something like that. It's an all-day thing, but it'll be great.
So do they do that like quarterly or?
They do rally twice a year. So regional rally in January, and it's always local. There's actually 24 or 34 different cities that it's in, and one of them happens to be Birmingham. And then national rally is always in Texas in July. Okay, which I really do want to encourage you all to go to that too. Those of you that have went to it, wouldn't you say everybody should go to rally?
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt, yes.
It's the best thing to do. Okay, then the last thing on calendar catch-up is designer cruise. That is March 23rd through the 30th. You have to be a designer, which means you have to have how many people under you? 7. By January 31st is the cutoff. And I want to show you this really awesome video so that you can get pumped up about, hold on, about the cruise.
When is that date?
March 23rd through the 30th.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me see if I can make it bigger for you. No, I guess I can. Okay, well, we're going to watch it small. Sit in our little chair. show you that just so you, because I talk about the cruise, I just want y'all to have a picture of what it's going to be like. And so basically it's New York on a cruise ship. And all the New York Broadways are there, and there's a water park, and we're going to the Bahamas. So I'm pumped because I get to go. So I hope that all of it, and Michelle, Michelle gets to go too. So I'm just excited, and I hope that y'all are too.
Yes.
Are you excited about the cruise?
Yes.
Yes. You can easily sponsor 7 people by January 31st. Who's sponsoring 7 people by January 31st? I know Natalie is. Katie, put your hand up too over there. Is your hand up?
Well, like this.
Okay, good.
Her hand's halfway up.
Halfway up. Okay, alright. Okay, just a little bit more recognition and then we'll move on. Hopefully Dave is almost done putting our children to bed. Okay. I have talked to a lot of you about the 180 sheet right here. Who's familiar with the 180 sheet? Just probably my initial first levels. Okay, so this is something that will just help you as you go on in your business to set some goals for yourself. This is my old 180 sheet from from January to Rally. Basically, I need to create a new one. But this just was a way for me to set some goals for myself so that I could reach levels that I wanted to reach. And so I just really encourage you, I'm going to I'll grab some of these. Take one and pass it. I'll give this one to you, Michelle. Ooh. And so the reason why I bring it up tonight is because I've talked to most of my first levels about this, that I would like to reward you for what you do on your way. So basically, this is your way to designer, okay? And so I have decided to give cash rewards to my first levels. So if you're not in my first level, you go ahead and talk to your Premier Mama, and I'm sure she'll be glad to give you some cash too, okay? So basically, it's 12 and 2. So when you do 12 home shows and you sponsor 2 people, and if you do that in your first 6 months, you become a member of Jones Rookie Club. All of these are on the side here, and they tell you what they are, okay? And so when you do that, when you fill in the green box, you get a cash reward for me. So somebody sitting in this room has filled in the green box a couple months ago, and I didn't get to reward her yet. Her name is Natalie Ramito. So Natalie, please go ahead and stand on up. Y'all give her a big round of applause. Okay, and so Natalie did that back in, I don't know, like 3 months ago.
No, not that long.
2 months ago. And so, anyway, so she has her little cash prize in there, all right? The second one helps you on your way to Builder. You sponsor 2 more people and do 12 more home shows, and that means you have 4 total underneath you, and you become a builder. Well, last month, Michelle over here promoted to Builder, so please stand on up and give her a big round of applause. Okay? And just a few weeks or so after that, Michelle went ahead and filled out the rest of her sheet. And so Michelle has the entire sheet. She just promoted to designer
Just like 2 weeks ago. I got to take her, Dave and I got to take her and Buster out to Oceans, which was a phenomenal restaurant. If you'd like us to take you out somewhere fancy, just become a designer, okay? We'll be glad to do that. All right? And Michelle also gets some cash for that, too, okay? So,
So it's out there for everybody, and there's no time frame. You don't have to do this in a certain amount of time. You just fill out the green box, and I'll know if you did it, because I can see all your activity. But you just let me know, and then I get to recognize you, and I get to give you cash, and I get to make a big deal about you, and it feels good to be recognized, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes. And so I want to recognize as many people as I can. Okay. Dave, are you almost ready? Okay, I'm going to let him go before me, but real quick, September promotion and October promotion, are y'all aware of the both promotions that are going on in September and October? Okay, so September is double points for the cruise. You have to have 10,000 CD points, which are just the cost of jewelry points to be able to register for the cruise. And this is double bonus points this month. So the more shows you do, the more people you sponsor, the more points you get. And then October promotion is my favorite promotion of the year. Spend $75, get anything up to $50 for just $10, and that's awesome. And I'm really hoping that November will just continue on in that same promotion. I don't know. I have not heard anything, so don't quote me. I'm just really hoping that they continue it on through November. But so that should really help y'all with bookings and getting things going for October. Yes,
I
ma'am.
have a question about the promotion for October.
Yeah.
So these are the postcards that you can print online, and you can fill them out, and then like they're PDF, you can fill them out and then print them, and then if you do your own postcards, they're really easy. But is this me, or is it supposed to be the hostess and the coupon part? Because it says my party and contact me. It looked like a jeweler.
Jeweler spot. So I put my info, but I think it might be for the hostess info.
Probably.
Probably the
I probably
hostess.
would, yeah.
Okay.
Because they should let their hostess know. I mean, I don't think you could go wrong. I mean, they can certainly call you.
I just don't want to be like, who's Beth Kellogg and why is she mailing me?
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So maybe put the hostess there.
Okay.
Because this is for a jewelry show,
Mhm.
and so I think that would be what I would probably do. I don't think you could go wrong either way. though.
Okay.
Either they're going to call you an order, or they're going to call the hostess an order. And I think that's fine. Both ways.
I have one more question
Yeah.
about the regional rally. So I'm supposed to have a baby like 11 days before that.
Yeah.
When is the last time? Is there like a cutoff for registration, or does
There'll
it fill
be-
up? I kind of walk up that day.
Well, last year, in years past, it has filled. But last year, because it was the first year of like having 34 different sites of rally, it didn't, and there were lots of on-site registration. So you should be okay. However, they do have a no baby policy.
Really?
Mhm.
So I can't bring the baby.
Now you could bring him or her. It's him. Him.
Mhm, him.
You could bring him and bring your husband, and so he could like sit right outside the doors. It's in an auditorium in a hotel, and the doors. I mean, it's at the same place it was last year, and so there's like a little place right outside where the auditorium is, and the doors stayed open pretty much the whole time last year anyways, and so technically he would have to just be outside the doors. I know that just sounds ridiculous, but you could even, not that you want to stand the whole time, but you know,
Right.
you could sit right outside the doors and still be able to see
Okay.
all of rally. But really, it's just so it's, I know an 11-day-old's not going to cry, they're not going to be a distraction.
But like a 6-month-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of having an age cutoff, they just say no babies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, babe, you want to go?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Give it up for my awesome husband. Okay. Sit right here.
All right. Who needs a clapper?
Me.
Tucker stole one. There you go.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm Dave. I'm Danielle's husband, supportive husband, and I was going to do a little bit of a financial breakdown of Premier. A lot of women come into this business and have no idea about that they're running a business, and it's a lot of fun to do home shows, and it's great to come home and have made a little bit of money, but it's important to know where the money's going, what you are required to kind of do by law with that money, and it makes everything better when all those things are off the table and you can just enjoy what a wonderful business it is, as well as what a wonderful, way to bless people it is. So I, like a wonderful pastor would, gave you a fill-in-the-blank handout. I've heard that encourages participation, and so I gave you some blanks which will have fill-in-the-blank words, and I gave you some lines below that to like write notes. Those won't, the blank lines, the long lines, will not have any words in them, so if you want to start writing in there during this. And at the end, I'll answer any questions. So my background is, my dad was an accountant. I was raised in a home that was very frugal, and we always knew about money. Always did my taxes with my dad. I learned a lot about taxes. And so when we started this business, I had a lot of concerns about like tax issues and what we owed people, and I didn't want to get caught at the end of the year owing a lot of money, and what we could write off, what we couldn't write off. And so through the past 3 years, I've looked up a lot of that, and I've now actually had some accounting help because the business has gotten so large that there's a lot of other things to worry about at that point. But there's some basics, like right when you're starting or in the first few years, that you just need to know. That way you don't get caught at the end of the year owing more money than you need to. So, first blank, you are an independent distributor. That is the words there. What that means is that you are your own boss. So you are running your own business, blank number 2, and you are your own boss. This is how you are viewed by the government. This is how you're viewed by the state. This is how you're viewed by your hostesses, if they ever looked into it. And so you need to know that. That is how you're designated by the government. So what that means for you is that this is your business, and you can take it any direction you want to. You can do this for fun, make a little extra money, and just need to know that later you need to account for that money. Or you can take this business to huge levels where you're making lots and lots of money, and there's times where you may have to actually incorporate with the state. We're not going to talk anything about that tonight, but where you actually will have to be paying throughout the year taxes and other fees and other things. So just so you know, you right now are not hired on by anybody. You are no one's employee. You are an independent person who is making money that is not being taxed. And so that's a very important concept to understand. Premier, no matter what they give you, that they're not paying you as an employee. They're just giving, it's almost like a gift, and so you have to account for that, okay? So some simple steps in Premier. The first one I wrote down is set up a separate checking account. This is one of the most important things you can do. This goes back to the first point that you are running your own business, and so a business should have its own checking account. Walmart does not have, Sam Walton's credit card still that they use. I believe that's who started Walmart, but they don't use his credit card anymore because he's, has his private business, Walmart. Walmart is a corporation that has its own money, and you are your own business that has your own money, so it needs to be in a separate place than your family's finances. And we'll talk about how it can get there to your family's finances in a second, but it's very important that at the end of the year you know where all the money went into, even if it comes out of there later. So a separate checking account. Most banks will set this up, and it's a personal checking account. It does not need to be a business checking account. It's important to write down. They will ask you, is this for a business? And you say, this is for my own personal business. It doesn't need to be a business account. Business accounts are more expensive. They have more fees. So it can be a personal checking account. Most personal checking accounts come with a free savings account attached to them. They'll offer you that. Just go ahead and get that opened up, because we'll talk about it in a second. It's a great place to hold money, savings. So when you set up a checking account, you want to only use it for Premier Business. There should be no personal business out of this account. The reason for that is later with taxes and auditing. They want to know that everything that was accounted for in that business or that checking account was just for Natalie's Premier Business, or whoever. So what we do is we have a checking account, and you want to put everything into there. So all deposits, all Square or PayPal or whatever, you want everything to be linked into that account so that you know your entire income stream is coming into one checking account. Does that make sense? So you know where it all is. It's very important just for yourself to know, to be able to calculate later, and Danielle will talk to you guys about this in a second, how to know how much money you're making. But when you see it all going into one place, you don't have to jump to different accounts to see it. And that's simplified our life a lot. And then managing the money within that account is what something Danielle and I started doing early on. And what that means is we are paying Premier shows out of that account. If we're giving gifts, to Natalie and Michelle, and they do amazing things, we're writing it out of that account. And then at the end of every month, what Danielle and I do, and you can do it however you want, to make things simple for ourselves, is we write Danielle a check from that account, or we transfer it. If it's linked online, you can do that. And that is her paycheck. And what that does is we've already accounted for all of our fees, all of our taxes, all of our savings, everything for the business with Danielle. And then we said, this is how much money you've made. And so just like I get a salary and I get a check every month into my account, like a direct deposit, we do the same thing with Danielle's money into our family checking account, so that you see everything going into this checking account over here, that's Premier. You manage it all there so that there's a record of everything, there's a trail of everything, it's all online. And then at one point you say, okay, now this is what we've made after all of that, and this is what we're going to spend in our budget and our family checking account. We do that once a month, and it's made our life much simpler, as opposed to having all the money in a family everything account, and so Publix and all this other stuff in there. We're trying to figure out which deposit was this, which check card was this. It's just once it's in that account, that's just like I made money from my job. We don't have to manage that after the fact. Once we put that money in there from Danielle, we know that that is money we've made. That's our income. That's money we can spend. We can save. We can put into retirement. Anything else. It's just like a regular paycheck. That's how we've set it up to make it simple. That's what we kind of encourage people to do. You can do it however you want, but that's made it a lot easier for us. The next thing a lot of people have questions about is business expenses. This is somewhere that if you do it right, it is very, very helpful. If you do it wrong, it's very illegal. So, so I'm going to go over some of the most asked questions about business expenses. And what Danielle and I do here is, and we'll talk about this in a second, we're accounting for all of these before we pay her paycheck. So we kind of give her a check at the end of the month. After she's made all of her money, then we write off everything we spent for the business and then pay her a check. Now that might take a month to flip-flop your account. If you're already kind of living ahead of the month, then you might have to have a little bit of transition period there. But how we do it is we write off anything that has to do with the business. Majority of things you can write off as income you never made, if that makes sense. So if you made $10,000, but you spent $5,000 on office supplies and mailing catalogs, everything, you never actually made that money. That was not money of yours. That was your business's money that you spent before you paid yourself an income. And the government is totally okay with that. You just have to have a record of that. So the most important thing is that you have a clear indication of what is Premier and what is not. So for Danielle and I, we write off all office supplies. Paper, ink, we print a lot, we do lots of envelopes, we mail a lot of catalogs. All of that is a write-off that we, in that month, we account for it. So we don't ever spend that money in our personal accounts. We'll talk about how at the end of the year you actually get credit for that. But so you just need to make sure that you know that that money is spent already on your business. It's not there for you to kind of spend, because then later you're kind of eating into your own income, outside of that. Other things you can write off. The government will allow you to buy a computer each year or repair your computer. You can write off a percentage of your home utilities if you have a home office. So if you have a separate room that is only for an office that you use primarily for business, you can write that off. You can write off a portion of your air conditioning bill. You can write off a portion of your internet bill. You can actually write off a portion of your cell phone bill. What you should do is have a tax program that you're recording all this. And this is the most important thing. So we use Hood & House. I'll talk about that at the end. Hood & House is a program that was developed by a jeweler's husband because she couldn't get it all together with all the finances. It's very hard to do. So he developed a program that was exactly what he wanted as an accountant and a computer programmer to account for her Premier business. So it really has everything in it that you would need. What it does is it allows you to submit shows on it. It gives you all the discounts, all the free items for your jewelers. But the most important part of Hood & House is the tax program within it. Within Hood & House, you can write off credit card expenses, because every time, like Square charges you 3%, that's money you didn't make, and you need to account for that as money you didn't make. So you can write that off as a credit card charge towards your business. You write off all of your office supplies in there, and at the end of the year, what Hood & House does is it gives you a printout of all of your write-offs. And so, as an example, if you made $10,000, when you submit all of your shows, they say you made $10,000. That's all the government knows at that point, is that the record is you sold $10,000 worth of jewelry and you have $10,000 in your pocket, which is not true, right? We all know that you spent, $5,000 on office supplies and, a new computer and some utilities. And so what it does is it gives you $10,000 at the top of that list, and it lists everything you've put into that program as expenses, and then gives you a number at the bottom. And that is your profit for the year. And what that does for the government is it tells them they didn't make $10,000, they made $5,000. And so we should only tax them on $5,000. So it saves you a lot of money if you do it the right way. One thing that I did want to point out is that when people write off food or entertainment within Premier, so if we take someone to lunch and we buy their lunch, the government only allows you to write off half of that. So what Hood and House has already done is if you go to the food and entertainment income or the expenses, you put in $100 there for a meal, at the end of the year it'll actually only write off $50 of that. So it does it on its own. Now some people who don't use Hood and House and just record all this in a budget and on paper, at the end of the year when they do like a TurboTax or take it to an accountant, they're putting all of those in item by item by item into a program anyway. At some point you have to do it. So what we do is we do it throughout the year, so it's much less overwhelming at the end of the year. So I think business expenses was your blank there, and then written off. The next bullet is keep all receipts, and you will have a lot of them. And we just have a folder that we have all of the receipts. The reason to do this is if audited. So if audited, the government wants a trail of purchases. Now everything's online nowadays, and I don't know about you guys, but every time I go onto like our Reasons account, and when we used to have Bank of America, you see the ones that are Chick-fil-A, and it's easy. It says Chick-fil-A Inc. or whatever right on there. But sometimes it's a random line item there, and you can't figure out exactly what that purchase was, a week from then or 2 weeks from then. So the receipts for us is not as much to show the government the receipts, but for us to know online, if we ever printed that, exactly what all those purchases were. If you're audited, what that means is when the government at the end of the year thinks there was something fishy going on with that person's income, it could be that there was something fishy or that they just chose that person. They do something called auditing, which means they go through every single item in your taxes and make sure every item is honest and accurate and has a record. And so a lot of people who lie on their taxes are taking a huge risk of being audited. It's actually a criminal act. And so the thing about Premier is this is a Christian-based company based off of being honest, hardworking, ministering to women, and supporting families. And to lie or cheat on our taxes actually goes against almost everything Premier stands for. And so I would avoid anything that seems like it's not right. It's probably not. And it's better to err on the side of too honest and maybe spend a little more money than you would have, as opposed to go on the other side and risk, the law coming after you, the government coming after you. Because auditing takes months. It takes a lot of effort. It's actually expensive. A lot of people end up having to hire lawyers, other accountants, and so what I would do is just avoid writing off things or trying to account for things that you're not quite sure about. I would err on the side of caution with that. So we keep all of our receipts in a file. Every month I go through and update Hood and House with all of our write-offs, and every month we're kind of at zero. And that's how we like to live our Premier business is we make a certain amount of money for a month. At the end of the month, we account for everything. I write Danielle a check, and we almost zero that account, that checking account that I said to open up. So we know that everything's accounted for, all of our taxes are accounted for, and we've paid Danielle her income, yes.
So you don't leave like a buffer in there?
So we leave a buffer now, just because there's so much money coming in and out with shows and stuff. But yeah, so in theory, you could spend a few months and build up a pretty big buffer and have a buffer of $1,000 or $500 or whatever it is. But it's safer to do that. But for the accounting purposes, I was just trying to emphasize the fact that you need to know at the end of the month how much you actually made. And Danielle will kind of talk about that in just a minute. And so the next thing is the biggest question we always get is gas. The blank is gas, exclamation point. And the government allows you 2 ways to account for gas with your business. And we have found there's a simple way and a more difficult way. So the government has said that when you drive your car, you're spending gas money, you need tune-ups, you need new tires. And so instead of paying you what it costs for gas a mile, you could do your gas mileage, they said, well, it costs more than that. You have to fix your car, and there's wear and tear in your car. So they, every year, change the amount that you'll get paid per mile, and it accounts for services on your car. And so this upcoming year, it's 56 cents per mile. And if you do the math, it's a lot more than 30 miles per gallon, like paying for that gas. And so they're actually giving you a pretty good incentive to use that. So what you would do throughout the year is calculate your mileage you spent on Premier. Whenever Danielle goes to the bank, whenever she goes to the post office, whenever she does a show, that is mileage that we drove solely for Premier. And we record that. What we do, and makes it simple for us, is when we get a receipt of the place we went to, we write down, the mileage on it. Or if she does a show, she knows the address, so we have mileage. And then we have another list of the things that we didn't get a receipt for, to account for the mileage of things that you'll forget about. But everything else, at the end of the month, I have receipts. I know I drove to all those places. And we have her shows. We know we drove to all those places. So we don't have actually a log in the car, and every time we get out of the car, we're writing down miles and looking at it. And so for us, at the end of the month, we've driven, let's say, 1,000 miles for Premier. We input that into Hood and House, and it accounts for this 56 cents per mile. That's one way to do it. And at the end of the year, just like it does, you made $10,000. Wait, 56 cents per mile, that means you drove 1,000, or 10,000 miles, that's $5,600 off that. So now instead of making 10,000, you've made 4,400. Does that make sense? So see how and then you're taxed on $4,400 of income as opposed to $10,000 of income. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to take the odometer reading at the beginning of your year, and then at the end of the year, and that's how many miles you drove that year, and then keep all of your receipts for gas, oil changes, new tires, services on your vehicle, and that was the cost of your car that year. And then, because of your driving, taking the miles you drove, that same 1,000 miles or whatever it was that we decided was your total miles that whole year, and doing that as a percentage of your total miles. And so you're doing almost the same thing, you're just doing all of the math and all the calculations yourself. And so, as an example, so if you drove 1,000 miles in a year, and you spent $1,000 on your car in the year, I'm sorry, if you spent $1,000 on your car and gas and everything, and you drove 1,000 miles, but only half of those were Premier, then you would get a write-off of half of the $1,000, so $500 write-off. Does that make sense? So the numbers, I'm sorry?
Just don't do it that way.
Yeah, so we would suggest making it simple for yourself, calculating, just keeping a track of everything you drove for Premier. At the end of the year, every tax program, Hood and House, everything has that calculation of, hey, how many miles did you drive for your business? Enter it, it multiplies it by 56 cents, and that's how much they're allowing you to write off. It's very simple to do. You just have to keep track of your miles for Premier. So that's the best way we think to do gas. Some people have talked to us about, well, every month I'm filling up my car 4 times, and 2 of those were during a Premier excursion, and so they're trying to write off how much they made in a month based on how many shows they did and how many times they filled up. And the government doesn't see it that way, so we suggest not living the gas that way. We suggest paying yourself something every month of what you made in Premier, and then living with your gas budget off of that. And at the end of the year, the government will take care of writing all of that off. If you try to figure out how many times you filled up for Premier and how many times you filled up for, it doesn't make any sense because you're doing so much driving in between. That's why they do give you this kind of round number. Okay, the most important thing that the government wants you to know is pay your taxes. So you have to understand that no taxes are taken out of anything you make in Premier. if the company Premier sends you money, there is no taxes taken out of that. If you come home and you made $1,000 at a show, you had like a big party, $2,000 party, you made $1,000, there is no taxes taken out of that. But there is a record of all of that. And at the end of the year, the government says you made money, and you owed us 20 to 30% of that money this whole year. So give us our money, is what they say. And so most people, if they're not aware of that, or they don't think of that, at the end of the year when April comes, they owe the government thousands of dollars immediately. Like, there is no grace period. Like, it is, you owe us money right now. And so you need to be saving those taxes. So you almost need to tax yourself. And this is what Danielle and I do. We save at least 15% of what we make every month. That is not our money. It is the government's money. Until the final say is said and there's leftover money from that after we pay the government, that is the government's money. Now, we do 15% because I actually have a job and I pay a lot more taxes at my job, so we even out. So we would suggest 15 to 20% of your money that you never touch. You put into that savings account that we were talking about, and you just let it grow throughout the year. And you'll be looking at that money, and it'll be $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. You'll be like, ooh, $6,000. And then when April comes, the government's going to say, you owe me $6,500. And you are going to be so happy that you have $6,200 on that account. You only have to find $300. This happened to Danielle and I this past year. We were told, I had been paying all my taxes, we'd been saving taxes, and we still had to come up with $3,000.
We only saved 10%.
Yeah, so we saved 10%. Which we thought with everything that we'd been saving on my side and everything, we'd be okay. We actually had to come up with some money in April pretty quickly to pay the government. And that was okay because, we had it and we had been good stewards of our money before, but it can be very serious if you don't have that money. So remember, it is not your money. There is a portion of that money that is not yours. It may look like a lot of money, but a portion of it should not be in your pocket being spent on shoes. So that savings account you opened with the checking account, that is where we just house that money. It is the tax money. We never even look at it like it's our money. If at the end of the year we owe $3,000 instead of $4,000, and there's $4,000 in there, woo, we made $1,000 extra and we go have a party. But until we know exactly what that amount is, that's not touched. It's better for that account to be much more than much less because you can always use it later. So the next one is, what is a 1099 MISC? So that is a tax form that you will all be receiving after your first year at Premier if you made over $500 from Premier. And so what this form is it is a tax document that Premier sends to you and the government. So the government has a record of what Premier has given you. And this does not just include, cash. This includes gifts. If you go to, so one thing that we didn't realize, when we went to National Rally, we paid an amount, and Premier, with taxes and everything, decides how much each one of those meals that they're giving you after what you paid, they're paying on top of that. And it's actually accounted for on this 1099. And so it's really important to know that the government has this form as well, and there's a space on TurboTax, another place, to put this number in that's on your 1099 form. But just know that that is not taxed either. And so the 15%, 20% you're saving over here, that should also be from what Premier's given you. When you receive a check from Premier, sometimes you get a $500 check from Premier.
Or you get free jewelry.
Free jewelry. All of that is accounted for as gifts to you. And so you need to make sure that you're accounting for that throughout the year. Now, one thing is if you use the gifts of jewelry that they're giving you, the $500 credit for jewelry, you need to make sure you write that off as a purchase, or else it just looks like income. Because if you don't ever show the government that you took a retail certificate for jewelry and spent it on jewelry for your business, it'll never be written off, and they'll think you made a lot more money than you did. Does that make sense? So when you make jewelry purchases for your business, whether it was a retail certificate or cash that you're spending, make sure you account for that in your Hood and House program or your tax program of jewelry purchases for your business. That's very important because that will add up to a lot. If you're achieving a lot of things throughout your first few months and you're buying lots of free jewelry, go ahead.
So like the September show that I just did, like I paid $90 because I got some half off items. But that wouldn't be the amount that I need to have paid. I paid for the free jewelry was also a purchase.
Those are training.
Because
Are you
it's
talking about
taxed
the training
on.
show?
No, yeah, so no, that's
show,
not
but
that's not accounted for there. It's more of retail certificates that they're giving
Okay.
you later.
So
Because
for
what you're
Kickstarter-
getting is you'll account for whatever you paid into that,
So
but
the
not for
90.
the total retail amount of what you should have
Okay.
paid. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I think so.
So
Okay.
if you got $500 of jewelry and you paid $90 for it, that's
Uh-huh.
okay. It was a $90 jewelry purchase.
Okay.
Because I mean, if you're not charging retail, you're not gonna tell the government you paid retail. If
Right.
that makes sense. And everyone always gets things for 50% off as jewelers, so you make sure you're doing that, not the retail number, because that's illegal. But with jewelry certificates, you have to buy things at retail, and so make sure you're accounting for the full retail price on those
Good
purchases.
to know.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So they send it to you and the government. When you have jewelers below you, they will start giving you cash because you make money off of people below you, not off of what they make, but on top of that, Premier is very generous about giving you 10% of the jeweler below you, what they made, in money, literally cash. It goes into your bank account. That will also be on the 1099. And so in each month when you're getting that check from Premier for cash, that also needs to be saved. You need to save some of that for taxes. That will be sent to the government very specifically that you made that. And at some point in Premier, if you work the business the right way, you will flip-flop from living on your retail sales to living on the commission check sales. That's really where wealth is built in Premier. And that number can get higher and higher and higher, and so the government will know that you're making a lot more money than if you just were selling a little bit of jewelry on the side, okay? And then our recommendation for you, just because taxes can be very tricky, is to keep a great record of everything throughout the year. Keep all of your receipts. Try your hardest to do it all in Hood and House, and if you have a husband, to do it with your husband, to do it with your brother who's an accountant. But at the end of the year, to use a very reliable tax program and get that reviewed by someone, or to use an accountant. Accountants cost about $150 to send your taxes in. Now, I'm one of those people who I don't like to just give everything to an accountant and let them figure it out, and maybe they'll miss something and I'll get something. I like to know everything I'm doing with that. But this year, we actually started using an accountant because it just got to be so much that we wanted to be accurate. And actually, when I got him to review our taxes, he found an extra $1,000 in write-offs that we didn't even think about. And so, even with my background of knowing a lot of this, there's a lot of those little things that you may not know. So, the best thing for you to do is to save tax money throughout the year, try to account for everything you can as honestly as you can, and then have everything kind of reviewed at the end of the year by someone you know, a husband, a friend who's an accountant, or an accountant themselves, and pay them. And some of those tax programs actually have people on the phone that you can go through things with as well. So, all right. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about was Hood and House. We've kind of talked throughout the night about it, but Hood and House is the best $100 program you could ever purchase for any business. I don't think we could do the business without it. Throughout the year, Danielle will add a 50% item here, and it will recalculate immediately how much the hostess got for free. And then she adds another item here, and it recalculates immediately, and she would have to do all that math in her head, like carrying zeros and decimal points. I don't know. It seems very confusing to me. So it's wonderful for shows. It makes sure that you get as much as you can for your hostess, which is what we're here for. I mean, we're really here to bless these women who are having these parties, with lots of free jewelry and lots of time, and so the less time Danielle's spending calculating how much she's getting for jewelry, the more time she's ministering to those women, and so we find that very useful. The other thing we find useful is the tax program. At the end of the year, it literally prints out for me everything I need to put into TurboTax, every single line item. and I don't have to think. I literally just put in, as long as we're diligent throughout the year, it works that way. It also has updates throughout the year on all the jewelry, all the prices of jewelry, all the new jewelry, all the retired jewelry. So we would recommend it for everybody. And so I know sometimes they run specials, it's a little cheaper, but it's 1 year you get with the $99. Sometimes they'll run it as a special for $80. But I would highly suggest that to everybody if you don't already have it. Yeah, and so, go ahead.
Like, since I'm coming up on my renewal, are they sending like an email, like, you need to repay?
Renew. I think they will, but it's just, I'll even show you. It's on my account.
It probably tells you it'll expire in a certain number of days and counts down, I would assume.
No, I like almost forgot to renew 1 year. It's so bad.
Yeah, I don't want to believe you. Because that's not only, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure you back it up.
You
Back
have
up
until
putting
the end of-
house as much as you
have
can.
until October 31st.
Danielle does that once every 7 months. She'll back it up, which is too long. Too long. And
What do you back it up to, like, just
a thumb drive, yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's about all I had for you. I just wanted to quickly, I was reading this book that Danielle read with all of her, a lot of her jewelers, and I heard this one great line about your business that doesn't really have to do with taxes, but it said that if you walk up to a pilot and you ask them how long they've been a pilot, and they said 20 years, you'd be really impressed, right? But what does that tell you about how good of a pilot they are?
Nothing specifically.
Nothing, because when pilots talk about how good a pilot they are, or they're trying to earn the respect of their other pilots, they talk about hours of flight, hours they're actually doing the flying, actually doing the thought process when you're in the air, the pre-flight. And so I would say that with the same thing with Premier. You know, it doesn't matter if you've been in 6 months or 13 years. This business works really well, and you are really good at this business when you work this business and you put time into this business. And so it was a really cool analogy for me to think about, how much time Danielle's put in 3 years, and how the fruits of that have shown, and how we've seen people that have just started, and they're doing so well. It's because they're putting in the time, putting in the effort. They're learning the business. They're learning all these details about their business, and they're really investing into it. So I just thought it was a good way to kind of think about how good a jeweler you're going to be is really the time you're investing into it. And into the ladies that you're ministering to at your shows. So, okay. All right. I think Danielle's going to talk about how much money you make.
Yeah. Good job, babe.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Did y'all find that helpful?
Very.
Very much so.
For the newbies, I have newbies especially. Okay. All right. If you want to pull out this little sheet right here that says how much did I make, that's what I'm going to talk about with you, and I'm going to use this little chart right here. Did y'all all get one of those?
Yes.
You didn't need to remember that. There you go. And let's sit in the little base. Okay. All right, because I've heard from a couple people, not necessarily in this room, but just in our whole entire downline, and they have said, well, I just don't feel like I'm making any money in Premier. And I'm like, that is the most ridiculous comment I've ever heard. And so I want to make sure that you know that you're making money in Premier and how you can make sure that you are making money in Premier. And so these were my original notes, but then Dave made y'all this nice little sheet here.
On pretty paper and everything.
So you can take some notes. Okay, so basically what I want to do is I want to, I wish my easel was taller, but no, it's just so itty bitty here. It's from my kindergarten days. I was a kindergarten teacher. Sorry, okay. Alright, so basically I'm going to, this is the way I did it on my little sheet, and so I'm going to do it like this for you guys too, even though this is not what your sheet looks like, but alright. I want to take you from the jewelry show all the way through the end of the month so that you can actually know that at the end of the month you have made a profit, okay? Alright, so on my little sheet here, and you all, these are your little show envelopes. Everybody use these show envelopes?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. And so when I do a show, at the very end of the show, I calculate how much retail was earned or was spent at that show, right? Y'all all do that? Y'all all write that down? Okay, so let me actually, where's your sheet? Okay, so Dave, right here in the top, he actually wrote all these orders down. So he just, made up some numbers. So he just said 190. Y'all can fill this in on your sheet. 20, 110, and 140. These are all just made up. Okay, so you finish with your show. You had 4 orders at your show, and the total amount of your show was $460. Okay. All right. Oh, he didn't do my backside. Well, you kind of did. Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right, so then when I get home, I flip my little envelope over, and on the back, I write off some things. So I write off my jeweler fee, which is what you have there. So we're just going to say it was $14 because we have an $8 home show fee, and they got one bonus of $6, and so it cost me $14. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, then I always give away a gift. I give away the botanical earrings at every show, and that cost me $10.36 with tax. And so I want to make sure I am writing that off because I'm paying tax on that too. Okay? Alright, and then sometimes people will use credit cards, and that's an expense too. And so at the end of the show, I total up all the credit card expenses, and so we're just going to say that $7.64 went to credit card fees. Okay? So at the end of my show, my losses were $32. Good job, babe. You made it exact for you. Okay. All right. So here we're going to talk about your gross profit at the very end. So you had a $460 show, okay, times your 50%, which is what he wrote over there on the side, okay, which means that you made $230, except for the fact that you spent $32 in losses for your show. Okay, we've taken out our jeweler fee, our gift, and our square amount. And so we're going to deduct those things. So he has 230 minus 32 equals 198. Okay, so that's just one jewelry show. So I finished with that jewelry show. That's Susie Q's jewelry show. I've totaled up her retail. I've taken off my losses. I figured out how much I have actually made at the end of Susie Q's home show is 198. Yes.
I have a question about the retail and envelope since I've only done this like once or twice.
Yeah.
Do you include the hostesses stuff in that? Because it seems like when I've done that on envelopes, it hasn't added up to what the Hood and House did.
Gotcha.
When
okay.
they start adding the hostess stuff in there.
Yes. So when they start adding all the hostess stuff in there, like your hostess has $230 worth of free jewelry and 8 half-price items, let's just say. And let's say she decides that she's going to use all her half-price items. And so that makes your retail go up, right? But you're not making any money off of that because they bought it at cost. So you need to make sure that you are dividing the actual retail amount, what people have spent in retail, in half, and then taking out things like that. Okay, so when people buy half-price items, it's going to make the retail go up. It's going to give them more free jewelry, but it's not going to increase your profit. Does that make sense?
So we need to account for that even like when we give, if we were doing something per customer, like buy one, get
Yeah.
one or something.
Yeah. And here's the great thing, like everybody in this room has Hood and House. And so Hood and House is going to tell you what your profit is. Hood and House is already going to account for the fact that there were half-price items bought and you didn't make anything on that. Hood and House is going to account for the fact that you gave a 10% discount to somebody, and so you only made 40% instead of 50%. And so Hood and House is going to give you a number at the top, and Hood and House is going to account for this. So when you look at your profit on Hood and House, it is going to already have that deducted, because Hood and House knows that that is a loss that you have to pay for. Hood and House doesn't know that you gave a gift, and Hood and House doesn't know that Square keeps 2.75%. And so if it would be easier for you, just look at your Hood and House number and then deduct these two things from it, and that will give you your net profit as well. Does that make more sense for everybody? Okay.
We're trying to do it for people if they just did it on paper, like how to calculate.
Well, just the most simplest way, yeah, to show you.
For people with Macs.
There are lots of people in this room that have Macs. Actually, they just have either the dual operating system or just an old laptop.
Yeah.
That.
I have
or-
an old laptop in Jackson.
Yeah, we'll go get it. Yes. Okay. All right. So now we're going to talk about your monthly profit. Okay. So this was one show, and we're going to say you had 4 of these, not necessarily all at the same amount. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to count up all of your home shows for the month, okay? And so show 1 was $198. Okay, we just figured that out right there. Show 2, we're just going to say was $302 as your profit. Show 3 was $144 profit. Show 4 was $256 profit. And so that means that you made $900 at the end of the month, okay? However, you probably maybe have sent some catalogs or bought some stamps or did an OP and bought them coffee and all those sorts of things like that, right? Okay, so at the end of the month, then you're going to take this number. Well, Dave did it at the end, but you're going to take this number, which is not on your sheet at the top right there, but that's your total that you made, and you're going to buy some catalogs, and so you're going to spend $3.64 mailing catalogs to a pre-order, okay? Then you're going to buy some stamps for $9.36, and then you're going to do a Starbucks OP, and so you're going to buy yourself and somebody else some coffee, and then you're going to buy some paper for your printer or some sort of office supply and things like that, okay? So these are the 4 things we've written off right there, okay? Which means that you have spent $40 on other things for your business, okay? And so you need then to account for that. So your $900 is over there, your total show profit, $900, minus your $40 in expenses, means that you really made $860 at the end of the month. But then you need to account for taxes. Just like Dave said, we say 15% of what we made for taxes. The reason why we didn't say we don't take the 15% off of this number is because we really didn't make that number, right? We bought things for our business, and so we needed to take those off before we tax ourselves, okay? Because we didn't profit that, we profited this. So we're going to take away 15% of that, so we're going to do $860 minus 15%, which is $129, that we're going to put over into our savings account to save for taxes at the end of the year, which means at the end of the month we made $731 doing 4 home shows. And then you can write yourself a check for $731, or you can transfer that into your account, things like that, okay? And so we do it just one time. So I don't do it show by show by show by show, because I don't know all of these things until the end of the month. And so at the end of the month I can say, okay, this is how much money I made for all of my shows. I can go back on all my receipts, or I can go on the bank statement and I can say I spent all of these things on my business, and so this is really how much money I made, and then I take my taxes out and then I pay myself. And so I just pay myself once a month instead of show by show by show, and it makes it just a lot easier. And I think especially for husbands, which is why I'm so glad Buster's here tonight. Husbands want to know that your business is profitable. They don't want to see that you're just going off and doing home shows, and you're driving here, and you're doing this, and you're buying coffee for people, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're not making any money, you're just spending a bunch of money, and you're driving places, and blah, blah, blah. And so your husband needs to see that, yes, I am making money. And so at the end of the month, you need to say, hey, husband, I made $731, and let me write a check from my checking account for Premier into our budget account, and now we can add it into our budget, and now we know how much extra money we have for the next month. And so we actually live a month ahead. And so all the money that I'm making right now in August doing home shows, or September, whatever month we're in, September, I'll figure out at the end of the month what my profit was, and this will go into our October budget so that we can live off of that in October. So if you don't currently live a month ahead, it's okay. We didn't always live a month ahead. We went to a Dave Ramsey class, and he kind of busted our tails on some of the things, how we were living with money. And so it wasn't until then have we made the transition to live a month ahead. So if you're not there yet, don't think like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get there, or I can't do what she does, because we live paycheck to paycheck. Slowly over time, you can live a month ahead, and it makes things a lot simpler to be able to do that. Okay, but does this make sense for y'all? Do you do this? Yes, no, some people? Okay.
Not yet.
Okay, and so you don't obviously have to do it. It's not like my way is the end of the highway. It's just the way that we have found to be the easiest and the simplest way to show husbands that what you do actually does bring home extra income to your family. and you left and you did 4 shows. You worked for 12 hours. 12 hours. And you made $731. So Premier is a very profitable thing. And so I just want you to know that it is. Okay. Do y'all have any questions about that? Yes.
Do you factor miles in anywhere in this?
No.
Okay.
No. Now I'll write off the mileage. So on the back of my thing, I also write off mileage.
To the home show.
To the home show, but I don't take that out of my income because it would go back to all of this. You'd have to do the percentage of the miles and all of that crazy stuff. And so we in our budget have an auto expense in our budget, and so roughly I know about how much we spend on gas per month. So if you
Even
don't
with
know that,
Premier.
even with Premier. So if you don't know that, just start paying attention to how much money you're spending in gas and start paying attention month to month to month. And you'll see that it will probably average out around the same month to month to month. And so we just have an auto line item for how much gas we have, money we have for the month. And we're typically always right on within a couple of dollars or so. And so then I don't have to worry about that as far as this goes.
And you have to understand, writing off gas doesn't give you more money throughout the year at all. All it does is account for what you spent at the end of the year, and makes the government tax you less, like on a lesser amount. But it won't put more cash in your pocket if you're writing it off throughout the year and trying to account for when you filled up or not. There's no more money coming in, but at the end of the year you may owe less, if that makes sense. So it's just easier to keep track of your miles and account for it at the end of the year. And
yeah, because if you had a regular job and you had to drive 30 minutes to get to your regular job and you got a paycheck of $230 at the end of your 2 weeks, you're not going to say, oh, I still didn't make any money because I drove 30 minutes to go to work. You're not going to say that. You're going to say, I made $230. You're not going to think about that you drove 30 minutes there and back an hour, a day. So I think it's the same thing. This is your job. This is your paycheck. And so sometimes I might do a show down my street and I could walk there. And sometimes I might do a show 30 minutes away, but it's still the same relatively.
That's just probably the biggest way that Premier has added to the line items in our normal budget. So I'm saying basically the $731 that you're putting back into the family budget will go to account for those extra miles the next month. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, not directly.
And
Not
really,
directly.
in most other jobs, you can't write off gas mileage.
Right.
So if you were going to have a job anyway, Premier is actually kind of neat that you are allowed to account for your transportation and your commuting. And so, like, a lot of people think, oh, I'm driving, like, just like Danielle said, I'm driving so much for it. Well, my dad drives 40 minets each way every day. At the end of the year, he does not write off gas. And so that's thousands and thousands of dollars that he is still charged. So it's a wonderful incentive to have your own business and be an independent distributor. And so think of it as a blessing, not a curse, that you're spending more money on gas, because you'd be paying it anyway. So.
Very good point.
Do y'all have any questions about anything? Was this a helpful training for you? Okay, I hope so. I hate that you've just been sitting and listening for like an hour. I feel so bad. I feel like you need to get up and stretch. But as long as it was helpful, then
It was very, very,
Okay.
very.
Good. Okay, 8:11. We're good. Oh look, we finished right in time for you to go to your next meeting. Okay, well good. The only other thing that I really wanted us to do is watch a little video, and y'all can decide if you want to watch it or not because you've been sitting forever. It's a video. It's Christy Sutton. Did anybody watch training in August in Gainesville online? You did. Good for you. Did you like?
I was at the beach, so I had time.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it was good.
Well, Christy Sutton, I wanted to take, it's like 24 minutes, or maybe it's 20 minutes actually. I think it's 20. But if you don't want to stay for it, you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to stay for it, Buster. You can just get out aloud if you're ready to go. And it's basically Christy, she is giving a scenario just talking about fear. And she talks about Peter getting out of the boat and walking on water. And it's just, I kind of wanted to use it as like our devotion for the night just because it is very biblically based. And it's just a great encouragement if anyone has any fear. Anybody have any fear that they're ever dealing with?
Yeah.
Never? Okay. So it is great. So if y'all, do y'all, I mean, you can just tell me, like, you want to watch it or you don't. Right. Y'all want to watch it. All right. Okay.
Danielle, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Do you think that I could come get my laptop tomorrow from you? You're gonna be around? Okay.
I'm going to Dawson tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Can I just drop it?
Yeah. I'm just not feeling real good. I'm all head on, I think. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. If anyone else has to, like,
Why don't we do that? Why don't everyone who needs to go, go. Everyone who wants to stay and watch it, just like grab a drink, and then we'll do it in 5 minutes.
yeah, okay, that
You wanna
sounds
pray?
good.
What
Yeah,
do you
let
do
me
with
pray in case anybody needs to go, and then, but it's really encouraging, so if you can't stay, please. Okay, let me pray. Heavenly Father, I just thank you so much for tonight. I thank you for these women that are here. I pray for Katie, Lord. I just pray that you would just restore her body to health. Just for however she's feeling, God, I just pray that you would help her to feel better, Lord, and just give her strength as she drives home. God, I just thank you so much for these women, these friends that I have, that it is truly just because you've brought Premier into our lives. And I thank you so much for them. I pray that you bless them, that you bless their efforts in Premier, and that they would be blessed because they're a part of this business. And we just pray this in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Are you guys okay?
Oh, it's fine.